Welcome to Assembly Calendar. I'm Mike Friesen. With us for our program, Assemblyman Brian Curran. Brian Curran represents the 21st Assembly District in New York State. That includes parts of Nassau County. We thank you folks on Long Island for joining us. And Brian Curran, happy 2016.
Hello, Michael. Good to see you again.
First show of the year. We've got lots of catching up to do.
We
a lot
do.
has happened.
But it does seem like we were just here yesterday.
It does, which I don't know what that says, but it says something. We got to let you folks know what's going on at the state capitol, and of course the big news. This 2016 session, Brian Curran, starts off with a bit of a dark shadow, dark cloud hanging over this New York State legislature. Well, with, at the end of 2015, the conviction of two top former legislative leaders, Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver, Senate Majority Leader Dean Skelos, your local senator. What's the mood here at the Capitol right now? I think the public is looking at Albany saying, okay, what are we going to do about this?
You know, Michael, that is a fantastic question, and I wish I had a better answer than what I'm going to give you, and that was, you would suspect that the mood up here should be serious, and after 5 years of me coming up here at a time when the public attitude towards the legislature was at an all-time low, I was hoping that we've done something in the past 5 years to correct that, or at least to instill some trust in this institution with the people back at home. And unfortunately, two convictions of the top two leaders of each of the houses, and we come back here and we want to get something done on the ethics front first and foremost. And the Republican Assembly Conference puts forth on the first day of session 13 rule changes that would directly affect the ethics in our House. And every single rules change was voted down by the majority in the Assembly.
Things like pension forfeiture, term limits
for leaders of each of the parties, which kind of is a no-brainer. Other common sense reforms, such as televising and recording committee hearings, allowing the public to see what happens in committees. People at home say, hey, listen, why isn't this bill that has 106 sponsors not getting to the floor of the Assembly? That's because it gets backed up in the committee, and nobody knows that. You see, the problems with corruption here in Albany, in my opinion, is systemic in that it's within the system that there are the problems. And listen, elections have consequences, and there are majorities and the minorities. But the problem is that when the majority has total power and total say over legislation, over funds, that's when corruption festers itself. And that's what we saw in both of the cases of Speaker Silver and Majority Leader Skelos. And I think it's time to address that once and for all. And I think the people at home I was always told, you know what? People don't care about ethics. They care for about 60 days until after it goes away. And then they go back to the real important things of jobs and how they're going to, feed their family and this education for their kids. But I think this time it's more important to the people at home. And I hope that's the case because, I want to see real change up here. And I have to tell you, Mike, they want real change up here, and I'll say it again, I've been saying it for the first day that I got up here. Term limits for every single person up here. Listen, let's be able to serve 8 years in each of the houses, and then after that, new people should come in. If you want a real solution to the problem of ethics, that's what the solution is.
You always hear you can't legislate morality, and there's always going to be that kind of give and take in any political environment. But one of your colleagues, I think, summed it up really well at the beginning of the session when she said, but we've sort of institutionalized unethical behavior here.
Right.
When you've got the kind of power that the legislative leaders can have over any given period of time.
Right. And Mike, that's not to say, ultimately, it is up to the person that is elected to this position to make the ultimate choice as to whether or not they're going to serve the interest of the people that elected them back home or serve their individual needs. And that is what always is the case when somebody does something wrong. So it's ultimately the person that's elected to the position. But here's the thing. If you have a person that is serving up here for 20, 30 years, they accumulate so much power to the point where no matter what they do, people are going to listen to them. They're going to have a certain control over the legislative process, the funding process, and you can't have that. And you know what? Term limits for members would solve that. And I think that is a issue that we should start finally having a conversation about.
Well, this is an issue that's going to be front and center this entire legislative year. We'll be talking more about it.
But Mike, let me just say, I do want to say this. So, people who get to watch this, you'll hear a lot of legislators say, I want to do something about ethics. We're going to take it seriously, or they'll ride the ethics wave. The unfortunate part is, what I encourage everybody, go back onto the website for the Assembly. Find out which Assembly people voted for those 13 common sense reforms to ethics and who didn't vote for them. Because that's important. People can say they want to change Albany. It's the people that actually vote for the legislation that will change Albany.
Well, that's it. And you have to figure out which are the real common sense changes. There are some people there's diverse opinions here as to how to fix things. Some people are calling, for example, public financing of campaigns. There are some here that say that could be the worst thing you could do.
I'm in that camp. I'm one of those avid opponents of public finance campaigns. I think it's an absurd solution to a problem that we have to fix. But using taxpayer money to fund an individual's private campaign is, to me, crazy.
So we're going to be having these discussions and watching the different proposals come and go over this year. But I'm with you. I think there will be something, because I think the public is going to demand something be done.
I hope it's just not something. I hope it's something significant.
That's time will tell. All right, we've got other things to talk about and things that are happening right around the 21st Assembly District. Brian Curran, you are holding a hearing and on the issue of Common Core, educating the children of the state. Again, diverse opinions here at the state capitol as to how to go about doing it. But you're asking the question, where do we go from here?
Yeah, and Michael, we in the Republican conference in the Assembly has been sounding the bell about the troubles of Common Core for the past 4 years, and we have always met resistance with both the majority in the Assembly as well as the governor's office. And lo and behold, during the summer, the governor has seen the light. He had came out and he had said that there was problems with Common Core, the curriculum. It was problems with the implementation. He set up a commission to come back with recommendations on how to deal with that. And in October and early November, this commission released its reports that basically said, let's put a pause on it. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's figure this Common Core curriculum out, which is fantastic. It is a good step forward for all the parents that have been dealing with this problem since its inception. And we are now at the point where we have to figure out where we're going with Common Core. And we thought that it was important, at least for my area, which is a real hotbed for this topic, about how to proceed forward with Common Core. Should we draw up a completely new curriculum? Should we try to amend what is there? How do we proceed? So we've gotten the best speakers on both sides of the issue to come in and do a forum on it, superintendents, teachers, advocates on both for and against Common Core, and that's going to take place on January 28, 2016 at the Southside Middle School in Rockville Center, and I'm encouraging all the parents to come in and participate just to see where we're going with this.
This is a topic that is continuing to resonate at the national level. The presidential candidates are talking about whether education should be a top-down. I mean, do we want the people in Washington telling local communities like your schools that pride themselves on their excellence what they have to teach?
Yeah, Mike, and we've talked about this before. Listen, I'm a big local control guy. Education, federal government has no role in education here in New York State. The only reason why they do have the ability to dictate is because back in 2010, before I got up to the legislature, we were $10 billion in the hole, and they accepted money from the federal government to participate in Common Core. And, when we talk at home about budgets and the ramifications, I always tell them, you always got to be careful about taking money from the federal government, because that little carrot has a very big stick, and they're going to ask to come in and have a big control over what you do and say, and especially we've seen this in the area of education.
I was going to use the pig in a poke analogy, but we'll go with carrot and stick. Another issue or forum that's coming up in the 21st Assembly District is your annual jobs fair, and I know this is one that gets you very excited. The date on this is February 5th. It's going to be at the Oceanside Library, And this is something that people in your area really can take advantage of.
Sure, and we see it. Listen, we just talked about it. The main issues on everybody's minds here in the state of New York is, how they're going to deal with their property taxes, having a good job and being able to stay within the state. And even though our job numbers aren't bad, they aren't as good as they should be. And there are a lot of people, even in my district, that are looking for employment. But what we do with our regards to our jobs fair is something special. The unemployment rate with regards to returning veterans is over 50%. And that is a problem within the veteran community. We've seen it every single year that we've been in the Assembly. So what we do is we hold a jobs fair, and we set aside the first half of the jobs fair just for veterans. And we make sure that we bring in employers that know the benefits of hiring veterans, the federal and the state tax credits for hiring veterans. And we give them the opportunity to make sure that they take advantage of these jobs fairs. They're first and foremost on the line. And I say that because I think it's important that, us legislators, we always go to these legislative breakfasts for veterans, and we always say, oh, listen, we support your legislation and we're with you. But that's usually where it stops. And, this is our 5th year holding this jobs fair to make sure that we're actually dealing with one of the problems in the veterans community, and that's unemployment, and doing a little bit more than just saying we're with you.
And even besides the assistance that they can get for hiring veterans, you're getting a proven product in most instances. You're getting somebody who's been pretty well trained for just about anything that can come their way.
Anything that comes their way. And you know what, with regards to the jobs fair, even if they're not successful in finding a new job, we also have workshop forums with regards to resume writing and interviewing techniques also that will help them out later on.
So you folks, we'll give you the address and phone number and information at the end of this program to contact Assemblyman Curran's office. You can get the details, but again, it's February 5th. It'll be at the Oceanside Library.
Yes, Michael.
One last event to talk about. That's coming up in April, so you guys have time to train and start getting ready for this one, because it's going to require a little bit more of a physical commitment.
And I have to tell you, I'm very excited about this, and it goes along the same lines. And I came up with this idea last year, and again, it was after one of these veteran breakfasts where, I'm sitting there for an hour and a half hearing all of these elected officials get up and say how we're with you, and talking about one of the problems of VFW houses and American Legion houses closing in our area because they can't afford the taxes, the maintenance that come along with these houses. So we came up with an idea how to get them money to help deal with these fiscal problems, and it is we're going to have a 5K run on April 17, 2016. It's going out of Hewlett Point Beach. Every single dime for both runners and sponsorships are going to the participating veteran houses to help them pay their bills. And this is one that I'm extremely excited about. We're hoping to get at least 300 runners, and it is going to be a great day with all the veterans down there. And like I said, it's going to help them keep their houses open. And I have to tell you, Mike, as a person that goes to all these houses a lot, it's important to them. It's important for them to have a place where they can go sit with fellow veterans and talk about their experiences, and also just have a place to go outside their homes.
And we're looking at the Malvern American Legion,
Lynbrook VFW, East Rockaway VFW, the Rockville Center American Legion Post, and I think there might be 2 more, but we were just waiting on their final approval.
Yeah, you got a little bit of time. April
17, 2016 at 8:30 a.m.
It even sounded to me like you were guaranteeing sunshine and good weather. So
yes, but we're definitely guaranteeing a nice barbecue afterwards.
I'll be there.
Yes.
Now, the contact information, how you folks get in contact with Assemblyman Curran's office. You get the details on the jobs fair, on the 5K run. There's the address. There's the phone number, 561-8216. The office in Lynbrook. You can send emails to curranb@assembly.state.ny.us, and they'll get you answers. Brian Curran, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael.
Oh, as always, thank you folks, too, for spending your time. We'll hope to see you soon for our next edition of Assembly Calendar.